When you think of Range Rovers, you probably think of big, stately luxury SUVs, maybe traipsing through some muddy fields, or more realistically, driving down the leafy suburbs of your city's, posh neighborhoods. What you don't think is this. But this is no ordinary Range Rover. It's the Range Rover Sport SV, and the company claims it's its most dynamic model ever made. So, buckle up, hold on tight, and let's find out if that's true. Before we hit the road to find out just how quick it is, let's talk about design. And Range Rovers, of course, are synonymous with being big, boxy, and luxurious, not exactly sleek and sporty. But this, the Sport SV, is quite sleek, or at least as sleek and sporty as a 2-ton SUV can be. It's got a range of sort of aerodynamic touches. These are stylish vents as opposed to functional vents, but this is a carbon fiber bonnet to reduce weight. And down here, you've got these 23-inch carbon fiber wheels. Now, these are the biggest of their kind on a production car, and they're made in Australia by Carbon Revolution in Geelong. Now, let's talk about the interior practicality and the design, and quite frankly, it's pure Range Rover. This is what you expect from this brand. It's luxurious, it's spacious, it's got all the sort of modern conveniences you expect. You've got plenty of leather and other nice, high quality materials. There are a few sporty touches, like you got a nice thick rimmed wheel with the illuminated gear shift paddles, digital screen. So it's got that sort of cutting edge technology that you expect. But the real cutting edge technology and the real centerpiece of the cabin are these seats, which are called body and soul seats. This is a huge selling point for the SV. In simple terms, they actually have 4 transducers, they call them, embedded in the seat. Now, these will basically pulse the beat of the music that you're listening to directly into your body, like into your spine. Like, this is a technology that comes from musicians. Like Chris Martin from Coldplay apparently wears a vest with transducers in him so he can feel the beat as he sings. Now, look, it's whether that's a gimmick or not, I'll leave it to you to decide when you feel them, because it's one of those things that has to be experienced to really appreciate. I'll be honest, unless you're really into drum and bass, you're probably not going to notice it in a lot of regular music, but stuff with a bigger, heavier beat, yeah, you can feel it sort of pulsating in your back. If you don't like that, there is a wellness function as well that allows you to, relax and feel good when you're behind the wheel, particularly if you're driving nice and quickly like you do in the Sport SV. In the back seat, there's none of these fancy technologies, but you do get heated and ventilated seats, as well as power recline functions. And there's also 4-zone climate control, so every occupant can be comfortable. Now, let's talk pricing, and it's a bit of a good news, bad news situation depending on your relationship with your local Range Rover dealer. That's because the first year of production of the Sport SV is reserved for quote-unquote special clients and by invitation only. Yep, that's right. You'll need to be invited to have the privilege of handing over $360,800 for the SV Edition 1. At least if you do get invited, you are getting plenty of SUV for your money, because for that price, the Sport SV Edition 1 comes with exclusive branding on the front splitter, center console, the sill plates, and the puddle lamps, as well as a raft of standard features likely to carry over to the 2025 model year version. These include carbon fiber badging, forged 23-inch alloy wheels, digital LED headlights, a carbon fiber bonnet, 16-way electronically adjustable front seats, a Meridian signature sound system, a 13.1-inch infotainment touchscreen, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as those previously mentioned body and soul seats. As for those amazing lightweight carbon fiber wheels, well, they'll set you back an extra $16,130, while the carbon ceramic brakes will cost an additional $13,500. Now, if you want more details on the specification and pricing, make sure you read my in-depth written review at carsguide.com.au. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter when it comes to the performance of the Sport SUV, and that is what's under here. It's this 4.4-litre twin-turbo V8 with mild hybrid assistance, and it is new and exclusive to the Sport SV. And it boasts 467 kilowatts of power and 750 newton meters of torque, which is more than 40 kilowatts and 50 newton meters more than the 5-litre supercharged V8 from the old Sport SVR. It's seriously quick too, with Range Rover claiming the SV can sprint from 0 to 100 Ks in just 3.8 seconds, which is astonishingly rapid for such a big, luxurious SUV, and it will keep going all the way to a top speed of 290 kilometers an hour. Now, despite all that extra power and performance, thanks to the mild hybrid system, it's actually more efficient and produces less emissions than the old supercharged 5-litre V8. The mild hybrid system uses a crank-integrated starter generator instead of a conventional alternator, providing a boost of up to 20 kilowatts and 175 newton meters of electrical power when needed, with energy captured during braking and stored in a 48-volt lithium-ion battery. Of course, though, it's not a fuel-sipping hybrid like a Toyota Prius. This is a big V8 drinking unleaded at a pretty significant rate of a claimed 11.7 to 12.5 litres per 100 Ks. All right, let's get to it. How does the Range Rover Sport SV drive? Because that is really what this car is all about. The luxury's great, the technology's great, but really it's all about the driving experience. And I'm going to tell you, this is not your granddad's Range Rover. Forget that idea of big, sloping along in the countryside kind of Range Rover. This Sport SV genuinely lives up to the name. Previous, even the Sport SVR, but the Sport in general has, personally, I think it's not really lived up to that name. It's not felt like a particularly sporty car because it is, frankly, a very big, luxury SUV. This is different. Dial up the dynamic mode, bang it down a gear. Sounds the absolute business. It's got fantastic straight line performance, great punch, keeps pulling hard all the way through the rev range. It's a fantastic powertrain. But the powertrain is only part of the story. The Sport SV isn't just about brute force and pure power though. It's also equipped with a state-of-the-art suspension system to ensure it handles in corners better than any previous model to wear the Range Rover badge. The company calls it 6D Dynamic Suspension System, and it claims it's the most sophisticated of its kind amongst its competitors. It uses a combination of hydraulic interlinked dampers, height adjustable air springs, and pitch control, which makes it a semi-active system similar to what you get in a Formula One car back in the day when they had sort of freedom to do those things. It means the Sport SV has an adjustable ride height, but can also actually reduce the amount of pitch and roll in the corners. So it can actually keep the car flat. The 6 dimensions obviously are going up and down, side to side, and also the axis from corner to corner. So it's a very impressive and clever system. What all that complex suspension torque means is an SUV that handles unlike any other SUV I've driven. Maybe that's a little bit much, but it's certainly the best handling Range Rover I've driven. It feels remarkable. We've just driven it on the Portimao track in Portugal, and I gotta say it genuinely impressed me with how good it was. It's got rear wheel steering, it's got this this ability to try and sit flatter, and you can feel it. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, you can't fight the science. It's a very big vehicle. You're fighting against the mass of it. But having said all that, it turns like you wouldn't expect. I was caught out on the track at times thinking it was going to take longer to turn and find myself turning in sometimes just too quickly because the car reacted faster than I thought it would. It can rotate in a corner that sort of almost pivot on itself, in a, dare I say, sports car-like fashion. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a sports car. This is most definitely not a sports car. But the way it rotates is unlike any SUV I've driven in a long time. This genuinely will give something like the Porsche Cayenne a real run for its money, and that has for a long time been the benchmark in this segment. And that's really the key to this car. It is a fantastic car, a fantastic SUV, I should say, in that as a driver's car, you get out on the open road and you can really genuinely have some fun with it. For all of its track capability, it can still get down and dirty. It can go through the mud, it can cross a river We can climb up and down some mountains, it can articulate itself. It can, it's got good approach and departure angles. It is a capable off-roader. But the reality is you're not going to do either of those things. If you buy it, you're not going to go hardcore off-roading. You're not really going to use it as a track car. But the fact that it can do those things is what makes it so impressive. It can have this huge breadth of capability from one extreme to the other. And that is really the dream that you're buying into with the Range Rover Sport SV. In terms of safety, the Sport SV comes generously equipped with equipment as you'd expect at this price point. There's all the usual passive safety, including airbag coverage for all occupants, and plenty of active safety too, including adaptive cruise control with steering assist, remote park assist, and 3D surround cameras, which are used for off-roading as well as parking. As with the rest of the Range Rover Sport lineup, it has been awarded a maximum 5-star rating from safety agency ANCAP. And in terms of ownership credentials, well, in keeping with its place at the top of the lineup, Range Rover offers free servicing for the first 5 years, which is a good deal, but you should expect it given how much you're paying for this SUV up front. So what's the verdict on the Sport SV? Is it really Range Rover's most dynamic car ever? Damn straight it is. I mean, it's genuinely impressive. I mean, obviously, this is not the kind of car you're going to drive on a racetrack all the time. The chances are if you've spent 360 grand on an SUV, you've probably got a Porsche or a Ferrari or something in your garage at home. But the point is, this will handle itself on the track just as much as any of these modern Range Rovers will handle themselves off-road. It's an incredibly impressive and surprisingly impressive machine in that sense. This is not a brand renowned for track cars or dynamically agile cars, and yet that is exactly what the Sport SV is. It really impressed me on the track, but on the road is where it really shines because it's got, that immense power, the fantastic cornering ability, and you're doing it all in the lap of luxury. Now, unfortunately, the first year's allocation's already gone, so you're going to have to be patient to get your hands on one. But after my first drive, I've got to say, I think it's worth the wait. But if you want to know more, make sure you check out my in-depth written review at carsguide.com.au.